Welcome to LC Screen Talk. My name is Larry, and this is my review of Mank. Mank is a 2020 Netflix drama that tells the story of Herman Mankiewicz as he rushes through to finish his script for the famed Citizen Kane on time. Mank is a fictionalized retelling of the story of Herman Mankiewicz, aka Mank, and his relationship with alcohol, his personal struggles, and his drama with the screenplay for Citizen Kane with Orson Welles. Now, this is directed by David Fincher, but was actually written by his father, Jack Fincher, in the 1990s. But Jack unfortunately passed away in the early 2000s before he was able to actually complete and make this film. Thus, his son David took the film on as somewhat of a passion project and a bit of a love letter, not only to his father, but to what is highly regarded as the greatest film of all time in Citizen Kane. Now, my backstory with Citizen Kane is that I saw it in college for a film studies class. And in honesty, I haven't watched it since because Citizen Kane is one of those films that I highly appreciate and certainly revere and respect its place in cinematic history and what it did for the medium of filmmaking. It's an expertly crafted film, it's beautiful. However, I would never list it as one of my favorite films, if you will. It's not one that I've had the desire to rewatch. And ultimately, I think Mank follows heavily in those footsteps. This is a film that I highly appreciate the art and the craft on display here. However, it doesn't quite add up to an enjoyable viewing experience. So, let's go ahead and talk about those positives first. Well, I want to begin with David Fincher, actually, and his direction of this film because it is a stunning film, not just from a cinematography standpoint, but the view through the camera lens is really strong. It has a clear vision that adds and enhances to the actual filmmaking experience. More so than maybe anything else, the camera work and the direction really entrance you into what is happening through the film. I also think the performances are very strong. Personally, Amanda Seyfried stole the show for me. Every time she was on screen was simply magnetic. I couldn't take my eyes off of her. And honestly, the scenes with Seyfried in them are my favorite scenes of the film. But that is not to take away from Gary Oldman and his transformative performance. We've seen Oldman deliver plenty of fantastic performance, and this certainly ranks amongst his best. It's a bit more restrained than his big bravado performances of past, and it's all the better for it. He fully delves into the mindset of Herman Mankiewicz, and it's really fascinating as a character study, just focused in on him. I also obviously really enjoyed getting some more personal backstory when it comes to Citizen Kane. This film is heavily political, and we get a lot of politics talk. Around one table or another, it seems our characters are constantly talking about governor races, presidential races, German political races. Politics play a heavy role in this script and film. However, it translates really well when looking at, obviously, the heavy political tones of Citizen Kane itself. But more than that, once again, we go back to David Fincher. He drops Easter eggs in just the filmmaking itself, whether it be the film it's displayed on and the textures added in, the sound design itself, or little tidbits as we're walking through. This film pays heavy homage to Citizen Kane, and particularly if you've studied that film or even if you've seen it, I think film lovers will have a fun time dissecting the nods and homages paid to the famed film. And I also really enjoyed the original score. Trent Reznor once again delivers a really evocative score. I will admit, at the beginning, And at the end, it feels just a tad overwrought for me, but overall, the score added a lot of much needed life to this film. Well, then, what doesn't quite work so well when it comes to Mank? Well, first of all, the runtime is just too long. This clocks in at over 2 hours, and there is a lot of fat that could have and ultimately should have been trimmed here. Plus, the back and forth nature does not work for this narrative. For the most part, the flashbacks serve more as a disruption than an enhancement to the film. They do get better in the third act, and in general, the third act is by far the strongest portion of this film for me, but we just meander so much. We're just dealing with so much airtime that feels blank. If you've come to learn the actual history of Citizen Kane, this is not necessarily that movie. It's much more focused on Mank himself and his entire life and mindset as he's working through his script on Mank. If you're looking for the controversy surrounding the screenplay of Citizen Kane and that whole ordeal, this film only barely touches the surface there. And while writing the screenplay for Citizen Kane is the center stone of the screenplay and the story, the narrative we're following, I think it would have benefited to even focus that in more. The film often feels jumbled, and at times it feels a bit directionless, which again could be really evocative, however, in this instance, leads to feeling more like dead space. In addition, I think that this is a case of overwriting in the script department. We get some great moments, we get some really snappy dialogue, we get some great lines in here. However, everything feels like it's just a fine-tuned script rather than anything organic, anything lived in. This doesn't feel like an actual world rather than a highly produced film. And honestly, the screenplay and how overworked that script is left me feeling at an arm's length at all times. As I said before, this is highly a character study for Mankiewicz himself, but the script really kind of kept me personally at arm's length from connecting to him and really feeling for him as he moved through some pretty hard stuff throughout the film, but it just never quite felt authentic. And if I'm being honest, yes, black and white cinematography is always beautiful. Going black and white is a surefire way to make a stunning film. However, most of this film felt just a tad bit overexposed for me. Even the balance in that black and white cinematography didn't quite settle in as beautifully as we've seen in years past for films like The Artist or Roma. So overall, Mank is a well-crafted, beautifully mounted piece of art. David Fincher does a fantastic job of creating this beautiful homage to a classic film and, in turn, to his own father. And we get some stellar performances set against some beautiful costumes and production design and a lovely film to look at. Unfortunately, it just kind of drags and meanders on to what results in a rather beautiful looking yet hollow film. So if you love Citizen Kane, if you love old time cinema, if you are a big cinephile in general, I definitely recommend checking out Mank. There is plenty in here that I think you will adore. However, if you watch this trailer and think it looks pretentious and boring, this is definitely not the one for you. This is not a fun weekend watch. And for that, I wouldn't say skip it, just because it is a beautifully mounted film. However, there's no need to rush out and watch it this weekend. Well, that is my review of Mank, debuting on Netflix December 4th. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, go ahead, click like down below and subscribe to the channel so you are always up to date on my latest videos. Also, join in on the discussion. Are you excited to see Mank? And what is your favorite film about making a film, whether fictional or biographical? Let me know either in the comment section down below, or you can hit me up on Twitter. I love you all so much for your continued support. Mwah! Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye!